This is Gods of Gravity, a great toy soldier style game that uses true strategy and wit to play. It is a good free game that's not only high quality considering it's a quest only game, however it's extremely fun and replayable with a pretty good sized community backing it up. Best part is, by the way, it's only made by 3 devs. With a game like this, there's plenty to do, whether you're a die-hard solo player or a PvP pro. And with about, 4 categories within the community, you can easily find yourself getting really into this game. Whether you become a peaceful map maker, or the MVP at PvP, or the fastest speedrunner around, or, you can just hang out in the community. There's plenty of stuff that you can do. However, one thing stands in all new players' way, and it really boils down to one thing. Skill issue. Don't get me wrong, it's in the literal sense, of course. As new players join, they don't know how the game works because the game's new to them, so they don't know the things like speed portaling or flawless planet attacks. So, I decided, as one of the older members of the community and one of the top speedrunners around, I decided to make the ultimate guidebook, or so to speak, for the game. I'll explain stuff like god types and ship types, advantages and disadvantages for that type of stuff, special game information, and, some of the advanced movement knowledge of the experienced player. Things that can make a new player not half bad with some solid playtime. So, before I dive in, also know that if you do want more information on the game, there is a Discord that you can find many trainers on, and not just that, but a full community who can help you more than I can, and they can even play with you and show you the ropes of the game in the game! Wow, who would have funked it? And of course, my guide, although somewhat relevant to the game as a whole, may be wrong as things change over time, specific data like, oh, this ship attacks so and so fast. Obviously stuff like that will change in the future. So, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's begin. So to start, you guys are going to need to know the basics. And of course, I mean more than just, you must fight the enemy teams. Look, you're going to need to know how to build an army, how to prepare for the combat, and how to obviously fight without that much troop loss, alright? So let's begin by building an army. Alright, so in order to build an army, you guys are going to need planets and moons. Obviously, because that's really most of the game is. Planets do 3 things for you, alright? They make your troops, they increase how big your army can be by about 10, and they can increase your power range that you can attack in, alright? However, said planets will need resources to make all this happen. Where do they get them? From your moons, of course. So to put it simply, you get moons, you get more troops equals more planets to conquer, and more planets to conquer means enemy go boom really quickly. Got it? No? Alright, fine, whatever, I'll go in more depth later, alright? Let's get ready for some combat, right? Not every planet is made equal. Some make special ships that you can only get from them, and it's these ships that will severely change the outcome of your fights. So you're going to need to decide what will help you in a fight, as you can only have a max ship fleet of about 100. So therefore, if most of your ships are all shields, you aren't going to get very far very quickly, alright? So the types of ships that you can have are standard, shield, missile, these 3 are typical standard for a blank planet, point defense, torpedo, sniper, heavy laser, explosive battleship, laser battleship, nuke ship, and then there's mining supports, but we don't talk about him much. These are the ships that you can find scattered within the many different maps. Some may not be in your game at all, and some will always be there, so just know each ship has its own purpose, and understanding them is helpful to fighting. However, we're just going over the basics, so I'll go over that stuff later. Now, a good rule of thumb, though, in the basics department, is you want to try to take over as many moons as you can immediately when starting a game. After all, you can just get moons by taking a couple troops, walking over to them, and just lightly throwing them at the moon. It's not that difficult. And then when taking over planets, don't portal as close to them as possible, right? It's a really easy mistake most beginners do. Just don't immediately teleport to them, alright? Your troops cannot immediately fight out of a portal. Furthermore, if you try to reverse your portal, if you're being attacked, there will be a short delay where your portal won't suck up ships, and you'll lose more of them, alright? So the basic thing you need to know for now is don't immediately portal to everything as soon as possible, and take over moons and stuff manually, alright? You don't need to be so quick and move everything around at all times, alright? Cool. Now, the next thing you're going to need to know in terms of basics is the god types. However, I'm going to go over more than basics because, well, now it's time to be a bit more specific.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
God of production, yes, the very first god in the battle and is always ready to swamp the competition. That being said, he's a well-balanced god for any situation, multiplayer or single player alike. As the name implies, the god has the fastest production rate in the game compared to all other gods, and its special ability allows it to instantly create 5 troops of the given targeted planet. Along with that, it gets some partial turret regen on a planet that has been attacked on your side, allowing for quick troop access and some recovered protection. God of Conquest, the moon-thirsty god that can quickly span large areas fast. Its prowess makes it a devastatingly powerful god in early rounds and is skilled at cutting off enemy defenses. This god has a slightly better than normal production rate, but what it lacks in true production, it gains in his ability to not only get power from planets, but moons as well. A clever user can use this to quickly access the entire solar system by moons only, and his special ability helps in early rounds as well with a quick charging EMP that disables all shields and can shut down point defense or some advanced big boy ships on a chosen planet or sun. He's a great counter when fighting God of Defense too, by the way. God of Volatility, a violent god that thrives in large groups and can take out entire armies with ease. He may be slow to begin with, but once he gets going, there's no stopping him. This god has a normal production speed, but every enemy he kills has a chance of exploding, taking 2 other troops with it. His power amplifies this by allowing it to change a good number of normal troops into nuke ships that are each able to kill a pretty good amount of troops, up to at least 5 to my understanding. And to make him more powerful when he's against large armies, he's a great counter to stuff like God of Production or Teleportation. The God of Teleportation. There is no place this god can't reach, being able to move troops over the solar system fast. His playstyles and abilities have made him actually quite popular in the PvP ring. He's a fast production speed and is typically extremely well prepared when rushing enemies in later game. He also gets a longer wormhole length than all the other gods, and his troops can attack immediately after exiting a portal. His ability, however, is extremely powerful during late game, as his special ability called Recall instantly teleports all of his troops to him and gives them a temporary attack boost. There's a reason why PvPers like him. The God of Stealth, a silent assassin that hides among the stars, always plotting, always being 5 steps ahead. A great god for bamboozling his opponents to lose troops slowly, and his sneak attacks are unavoidable. His troop numbers grow fast and are always hidden, so you never know how many troops he has or where they are. Furthermore, his troops are invisible until they attack, always getting the first shot. Enemy missiles and splash damage have no effect on his invisible troops, and his slow charging ability is great for sneak attacks, and all wormholes and the god himself become invisible for a short time with an attack buff. So watch out for this guy. Oh wait, you can't. God of Defense. His moves might be slow, but they're deliberate and precise. He defends his own with the utmost importance and is able to null enemies' attacks with ease. He has a fast production speed that he takes advantage of to attack his enemies, and his turrets are plentiful and regen faster than his enemies, keeping his stuff safe without the need for normal troops to be there. His ability ensures this by forming shields over all the planets he owns, and any troops he is holding will be protected by a shield on his hand for a short time, making this a good god at chewing through enemy territory slowly but surely. The God of Destruction. He might be the last list of gods, but his destructive wrath is strong enough to bend other players to his will. And although most see his presence as a nuisance, he has a plan and he won't back down. When it comes down to it, this god can make troops fast, and his power truly shows when conquering planets, even if they're shattered. He gains more turrets when taking down broken planets than other gods, and his fleet size gets bigger regardless if the planet is intact or not, unlike the other gods. His ability makes this happen by actually being able to shatter the planets, which destroys all turrets on the planet, spawns 3 ships, and can take out, if it's a neutral team anyways, the shield surrounding it. This makes it great to disable planets that support the enemy team, allowing for an easier takeover. Now that you at least know somewhat of the basics and how the gods kind of affect it, now we can get into the specifics, the meat and potatoes of becoming a pro. Now, As I stated before, you're going to want to start by spreading your base and moon collecting, right? I cannot overstate it. Moons are your friend. When beginning any game, collect as many as possible so that way you can begin building up your army along with one just blank planet, alright? So that way you can grow your army, because that is key to winning battles, alright? Now, you also need to pay attention to what planets you collect, alright? Because first, each planet anyways creates power, but not all planets create the same amount. A little bit of a tongue twister there on myself, but basically, power allows your troops to fight and defend. So without power, your troops, turrets, shields, nothing will work against your enemy, alright? So watch out for the lightning symbol over a planet or moon to check if you can reach it before you make your move, alright? Second, some planets produce special troops and you need to beef up your army. So obviously in early game, it's best to look for stuff like shield or point defense or some sort of like missile or just something to help you grow your army and give you that much needed extra boost without as much troop loss. If you can do this, you should be able to grow a decent army pretty quickly. But obviously that's only half the battle, right? Actual combat will first depend on who or what you're fighting, right? Because if it's an AI, then, well, as a speedrunner, I can happily tell you that they can be predicted and easily beaten with some simple moves. But players are a different beast altogether. Luckily for you, there's techniques created by, big old PvP players that help you fight any opponent, regardless if it's AI or not, alright? Now, a strong technique is simply micromanaging your troops. This method is really efficient at collecting moons, neutral planets, suns, heck, even the enemies if it's done right. So, to pull it off, you simply take a handful of troops, or at least, one shield and one normal troop, right? Take them and let go of them at a distance, close enough to shoot stuff, but far enough away to where they aren't being attacked by the entire planet, and, if there's missiles coming your way, you can dodge them, or move your troops out of the way. It will take some attempts to learn, of course, and on occasion, trust me when I say, you will fail miserably, and the AI will suddenly be like legendary X Games gamer, but trust me, once you learn it, it will up your game by a ton, alright? The next thing you want to learn is speed portaling, alright? So this is a combat defensive skill that's used by skilled PvP players, designed for fighting with more troops than you can hold, but it mixes defensive teleporting and precise attacks to always have your troops on, fighting stuff, but also moving out of the way. Now, trust me when I say, although it seems easy, you just place portals fast, but trust me, you do risk accidentally throwing every single one of your troops into space if it's done wrong. So, a good way to practice this is to place a portal and teleport to another planet, and then complete your portal, right? Does that seem simple? Good. Now immediately run into deep space and place a portal then, and then proceed to put one onto a planet, basically make a chain. Yeah, there's a good chance you're probably going to lose some troops if you're not fast enough. So it's definitely going to be a challenge, and you got to learn how to, TP with your hands and whatnot, and trust me, you will definitely lose troops to space. But another part of the speed portaling, right, though, is the combat side of it. Yeah, you get to move around and move a lot of troops quickly and collect more troops, but you can do something that I like to call the Triangle of Death. But when fighting another player, you can use this Triangle of Death by basically, making a triangle of portals, more or less. Bring your troops in, move them up and out of the way, a little bit back and behind so they can get ready to attack again, and then back into battle. By that point, your bottom portal has disappeared, so then you can basically just rinse and repeat your process. Sure enough, this will constantly chip away your enemy, slowly nailing down their troops and dwindling down to small numbers, while you don't lose as many. Okay, so obviously besides normal techniques, there is techniques that don't require practice or skill. So, it's easy to work with, but it does require you to, pay attention to your army, right? And this is just simply splitting your troops. What? Did you think everything pros do is super, complicated, I mean, it doesn't have to be, it's as simple as pressing the subscribe button, Winkety wink, wink, wink. Anyways, though, when fighting your enemies, especially in late game, all teams will end up usually with pretty sizable armies, hopefully, depending on the god types, you're about equal. So, what pros will do when attacking is they'll leave some troops behind on the previous planet as a power preserver, so to say. So that way, if, your enemy tries to cut you off, then that means you at least have more defense keeping you from, losing your entire army. Furthermore, say you're attacking a home planet, but, you lose this battle by like 3 troops.
What we are seeing now is a victim of immeasurable psychic damage. His facial expression is a telltale sign of irreversible harm done to billions of neurons and synapses. Poor guy might be dead.
Super important to players is maintaining your power. Now, planets will produce power after these like tiny solar panels reach it. So when in combat or on enemy territory, smart players will try to cut you off, making all your stuff useless. So you kind of want to capture nearby planets, or if you conquest moons, to try to make sure you can keep your power even if the previous one was taken, right? You can also use this to your advantage if you're attacked by cutting your enemies off if they're trying to reach into your territory. So just be warned about power. Now, if you're worried you may not have enough power ever, or you're always one step behind and you can never, beat anyone, then look no further to the ye old sun, the source of this power. It's specifically the unstable star and the harness star, right? Now, for example, the unstable star, once active, will give your team an attack and speed buff. Furthermore, all your planets will produce far faster, allowing you to quickly build up your army or conquer enemy territory really quickly without having to really worry about too much troop loss. Now, this power is really great, but be warned. This buff and all of this instantaneous power, because you basically get to conquer the whole solar system in retrospect because it's unlimited power. But the thing is, this buff is temporary. And after the start of this buff, it will send a solar flare shortly after killing any troops around it. So you need to make sure you move and, get stuff done when you have the power. Then there's the harness star. This guy looks cool because it is cool. Once you take it, it will begin to sacrifice troops automatically to charge and slowly power it up. But once it's completed, it goes full Death Star, shooting and targeting every single enemy home base in the game, and it will cause an instant win, with of course a bang. However though, just be warned, when charging the harness star, it is ridiculously slow, and on occasion, typically halfway point, or when you're almost completed, there will be a speaker that will out your progress, allowing all your enemies to know what you're planning and giving them the motivation to push you, while your troops are slowly starting to dwindle around the sun. Now, are you worried your forces aren't strong enough to protect your sun then? Well, if you pay attention, then occasionally on sun maps, you might find asteroids in your game. Now, these are conquerable rocks more or less that just kind of appear outside of a solar system, but if you take it over and let the mining process get completed, then the asteroid will break open, giving you on your nearest planet a bunch of really powerful troops, and as you can probably guess, they're typically the overpowered 360 shield boys, obviously. BTW, they typically start with 0 troops, therefore you can take even the ones over in your enemy base, and if they're not paying attention, you can get those too. Winkety wink wink. Now, all this information, of course, once learned anyways, will definitely make you a half-decent player. I promise you, if you can at least learn these basic skills, although it's a drab to try to learn it, you'll be pretty subpar, at least, alright? Now, all this, knowledge is only subpar if you have nothing more than shields and lasers, alright? Because the next part is going to seem tedious and, well, it's going to be boring, alright? It's a long process, but trust me, I'll try to make it interesting. But basically, learning and knowing each type of ship can help you counter your opponents. So, you could, just skip me talking and, just kind of skip through, be like, oh, I want to look at this. But if you made it this far, you want to win your games, all right? I'm going to be salty like that. The laser ship. It's the most basic fighter and the most basic ship you'll have at your disposal. He's on 99.9% of maps. That's how basic he is. In fact, he's so basic, he's straight up a triangle. Yep, I even resin printed one once because I can. It has a single attack of one single laser blast. After a couple ticks, it will shoot another one. And the attacks can be blocked by shields. I mean, he's pretty basic. The shield ship. This one, like the laser ship, is pretty self-explanatory as well, but it can block enemy lasers in a 90-degree area in front of it. It's really cool, I know, right? And when powered from above, it gets cooler by blocking at 180 degrees. Pretty neat. However, just know that it can't block missiles and it can be disabled by the EMP ability from Conquest, so keep that in mind when attacking a planet. The missile ship. Now, this one, obviously, shoots missiles, as the name implies, and as you can probably guess, it shoots one every few ticks, and the missiles blow up to destroy up to about 3 ships if they're, next to each other. They can even penetrate shield defenses as well. However, be warned, this ship turns slower than the other ships, so, if it happens to be facing the wrong direction when attacking, well, it's gonna die before it can even be, useful, so just be warned. Point defense. This ship is so darn powerful, it's capable of taking down missiles. But that's it. This ship can't attack anything either. But it is capable of shooting down up to 3 missile attacks before it needs a little bit of a cooldown, and then it can do it again. Now, in groups, they can completely defend your troops from any missile bombardments, but these guys can be disabled by the EMP from Conquest, so be careful. The torpedo ship. This is one of the big boy ships, because he is a big boy. Nope. The torpedo ship. This is one of the big boy ships. You see, they like the missile ship. This one shoots missiles, but better, because it can shoot a 3 burst. That's right. This bad boy will shoot 3 in a burst form and then have a little bit of a cooldown, and it's fantastic at taking down enemies in groups. And trust me when I say, if you have a bunch of these in one spot, it is absolutely terrifying just to see missiles flying absolutely everywhere. The sniper ship. Now, another ship where the name implies, this bad boy can shoot so far away that it can shoot at enemies' troops attacking a planet in the middle of their own territory. Now, unfortunately, this bad boy only shoots at troops that are attacking at that time. But, it's got a really cool laser where it's pointing, and trust me when I say it looks absolutely terrifying when a bunch of them are targeting one troop. The heavy laser ship. Now, this bad boy shoots a big laser that can blow up multiple... The heavy laser ship. This bad boy shoots one really big laser that takes out multiple troops in one shot, because it also has the explosion effect. The good side of it is it has a really short tick delay between shots as well. The downside, like the laser ship, it can't penetrate shields like missiles can, and, like its brother the laser ship, it happens to be made of 3 triangles. I know, what riveting stuff. The explosive battleship. This is another one of the big boy ships. Like the torpedo ship, this one also shoots 3 explosive missiles. However, this one gets one cool advantage. It gets a 360-degree shield protecting it at all times. Now, granted, that means it can be disabled from the EMP, however, this ship is just powerful in general. The laser ship. The last of the big boy ships anyways, and this one shoots powerful lasers really accurately like the heavy laser ship, and it also has a 360-degree shield protecting it. Although it can be disabled by the EMP, this one's also a pretty big threat if it's in your army. The nuke ship. This is the most violent ship because nuke. It's a nuke. Simply put, this ship can destroy up to about 5 troops at once, and it ignores all shields or point defense. Furthermore, once it's active, it will follow its chosen target till it's dead. Even if they teleport away, it will follow. The only way to defeat one is have your troops shoot it before it activates. Lastly is the mining support ship, the one we don't talk about. This guy is found very seldomly in custom maps. Typically, he's just there to help you, make troops faster, and typically put in those maps that say you can have unlimited troops and gives you way too much production speed to begin with. So, in my experience, I found that they work really well as bait, but if you put them around the moon, they'll, make the miner go faster so you get more troops faster. So, yeah, they exist. Well, are you still there, guys? Well, if you are, then congratulations, guys. You've done it. You've made it through the Ultimate Guidebook. As I've shared basically all the main parts of the game here in detail. From the basics, to god ships, to types, whatever, blah blah blah. You guys heard it, and now you guys know, right? Now, obviously, you probably won't remember this. In fact, I doubt that you'll remember any of this at all, because no one can remember anything nowadays. However, the best way to learn, though, if you're going to take away at least one thing, is to just play the game to learn it for yourself. After all, there is a game for this guide anyways, and there's a big community just to play with you, and who always trust me when I say they're glad to remind you what mistakes you make when playing. Tell you what. Speaking of the community, though, there is plenty of people in it, and who are willing to play with you, and like I said, they're even excited to show new players the ropes of the game. I even asked some people on the Discord what they said, And here is what I got. You can't reverse your action, but you can redirect them. Scarlet, the Republic President. Why did my wormhole go over there? Legacy Killer, God of Music.
Alright, well, I'll tell you this, right? We don't say water, right? We say water. Oh, wait, fuck.
So, what are you waiting for, guys? Go jump in, meet some new people, take over some solar systems for me while you're at it. And I also heard there was a space war, taking place at the time of this video. So, go support a team and just have some fun.